Good morning.
Morning, everyone.
It's cold. It's cold in Kansas City.
Yes, it is. I had to let the dog out for a few moments early this morning, and he was ready to come back in. He was wolfing at the back door saying, "Mom, come get me."
Yeah, we are definitely in the deep freeze. But it's January and it's Missouri, and so I guess what else could we expect? We can't have that nice weather all the time.
It was like yesterday at Sunday school. We were talking about it being so cold and how they wished it was different, or summer. And I said, "No, I'm not ready for summer. I don't want that humidity and heat. I just as soon have this." But it just depends on what you like.
Well, and I was really surprised how many we had yesterday in worship.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really see that much of a difference in attendance. So people were brave.
I did hear a lot of commentary about how cold it was, though, from people just, in the group, in the gathering area. I was like, okay, there's a lot of people talking about the cold.
Yeah. And there was a lot of talk about the Chiefs also, which was pretty exciting.
That was pretty impressive on Saturday.
That was very impressive. Yeah. And now we know that we're playing the Buffalo Bills yet again next Sunday night. So anyway, yes, we are a Chiefs city.
Well, that's right. My sister called last night and she said, well, we're watching the Bills and the Ravens, I think it was, yesterday. And she says, we're praying for the Bills because they're the only team that beat Kansas City.
Oh, yeah.
Well, she's a 49er fan. They're a little bitter.
Right. Oh, dear. Well, we'll knock off the Bills, and then we'll move on to Andy Reid's 302nd win.
That's right.
Yeah.
Confidence is a good thing.
Confidence is always good. Puts you on the right foot, regardless of whether you're talking about football or what you're doing in your personal life, what you're doing in your church life.
Right. Trying something new.
Do it.
Sometimes trying something new, you just have to put on your confidence and say, yeah, I can do this, and step out and do it and act like you know what you're doing, even though sometimes you maybe don't.
You hit the nail on the head. That is exactly. You have to act like you know what you're doing. Yes. And others will think you do. So
there's skills you have, and they're innate, things you don't even realize you have. And so when you step out and you use one of those unused skills for a while that you haven't used, and it's successful, and you think to yourself, why haven't I tried that before?
Like, hey, that was kind of fun.
Yeah, I really like that. I should have been doing this before.
That was kind of like the children's message yesterday with Lucy, Crazy Wild Lucy, and her friend Ben the bear. And they were talking about God's toolbox, or Ben's toolbox first. So
Ben was pretty pragmatic, but Lucy, I lost the directions. They were in Spanish. I can't read them.
And isn't that the case with life?
Yes.
We too often lose the instructions.
Or throw them away.
Or throw them away. Or, hey, I got a better way. I got some shortcuts I can take. But that doesn't work in most cases.
Kind of like the tortoise and the hare. The story of the tortoise and the hare.
Yes. Yes. And it would be so much easier if we all had instructions in our own personal little toolbox, which, I got a lot of tools. I got a lot of my hand tools. I got a lot of my dad's tools, and some of them I just treasure because they were ones that I remember him using when I was little. But I thought it was the conversation turned then to God's toolbox and how we are tools in God's toolbox. Had never thought about that really, and I mean in those kinds of terms.
Well, when you stop and think about it, think about those commercials on TV where you have one tool that they are trying to sell you, but it's a Swiss Army knife, and it's a screwdriver, and it's a drill, and it's a and it does all these things. We're a little bit like that. That's what he equips us to do. We have many tools in the toolbox.
Okay, so we're kind of like a Swiss Army knife.
Well,
never thought of that either.
But he doesn't. Most times, he does not equip us with just one tool. We have many that, we feel like we want to try them, but we have no confidence to try them because we've never used it, and it's just sitting in the toolbox getting rusty. And then all of a sudden, somebody asks you to take it out, and it's like, well, I don't know.
What was that for? What I used that for? I don't remember.
Yes. And then all of a sudden you step into it and it's like, okay, this is good. I should have been doing it a long time ago.
Yes. And why didn't I try that?
Or I should never have stopped doing it. It's kind of like an exercise program.
Oh, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that.
You do it for a week maybe, and it's like, and you're going, okay, I should have done this all year. I could have been in a better shape than I am today.
Yeah.
But that's a choice we make.
Most jobs that we do, or most activities that we do, don't require just one tool.
Absolutely.
Maybe 2 or 3.
Or everything you have.
Or everything that you have. And I may not have all those tools, but Debbie might have some of those tools that are needed for the job. And Pastor Lydia might have some. And of course, our Wednesday crew at church, they have all the tools. But it's not that physical tool, not the screwdrivers, not the hammers, not the tape measures. It's who we are, that we put all of those things together to get so much accomplished. Not just projects, but we get so much done in our outreach.
It's we're helping others discover their toolbox.
Yeah.
I think there are many that sit down in a pew and they think, well, I don't think I have anything to offer. I'm just going to sit here and take it all in. And when you just start taking it all in, you can build a new toolbox. You may have had an old toolbox, but maybe you need to add a couple more tools to the toolbox.
And maybe I need to share one of my tools with somebody.
Absolutely. Help them figure out that they do have many gifts.
Help them build.
Well, as a worship leader on Sundays, I look out at the church and I look for the smiling faces. I look for the smiles, and I look for the sad faces, and I look for the lonely faces. It's all part of who we are. And I think sometimes I have to have that connection. I need to see all that. It helps me be a better me.
I think it always helps us when we better understand where people are coming from, those that are right in front of us every single day. We know them. We probably know them really well. But I ask the question again, do I really know them? Do I really know deep down their thoughts, their feelings, their fears? Yeah, probably not.
No, and they sit there quietly, and sometimes they might be hoping that we would ask them or or inquire. And yesterday after church, Jim and Robert Bond Jim Shinneman and Robert Bond were sitting outside the journey room, and I heard Robert, well, and how long have you lived in the Independence area? And did you come from a large family? I mean, people want to have somebody ask a few questions. They weren't overly personal. They were just concerned. Robert has a gift for asking important questions about who you are and wanting to get to know you, letting you know that you're valued. And so I wanted to give a shout out to Robert because he's such a gift to us.
He is. He definitely is. And it takes that special touch, that outreach. And our theme, each one reach one, it takes an effort to do that. It maybe not be somebody on the outside of the church. It may be somebody inside that we encourage to get more involved, be part of the group. And every time we get visitors, or we get someone who becomes a regular attender, we need to ask them the questions. We need to reach out to them, get them involved, make them feel really welcome. And yesterday, there was Kara Young handing out the bulletins. I mean, she's brand new. I don't think she and her family have been with us maybe a month. And what a blessing, not just to her and her family, but a blessing to us that she stepped right in. And that's a beautiful thing, because she felt very at home and very welcome. And that's what Robert said. He said, as soon as I entered the doors of First United Methodist, I knew this was where I belonged.
Yes, and I think that it's important that we recognize that people need to be needed. We all have a need to fit in, to fill a hole, something that makes us all part of a bigger whole. We need that connection. And so I'm glad that those people are finding their niche, and that we've been able to facilitate that as a church. But the work is just beginning.
The work is just beginning.
So much more of that. And I'm so excited to be part of that.
And the words to the last hymn that we sang yesterday, pass it on. It only takes a spark to get a fire going, and soon all those around can warm up in its glowing. That's how it is with God's love. Once you've experienced it, you want to pass it on.
Absolutely.
Spread his love to everyone.
I was part of a UMYF group back in the 70s, and that song was very popular at the time. And so I know all the words without having to look at the hymnal on that.
I was glad we sang all 3 verses yesterday, because I love the words to that. I love that song.
Yes.
Because it speaks to outreach. It speaks to each one reach one.
Well, and in that same vein, I want to talk about a quote from Albert Schweitzer, his book called The Quest of the Historical Jesus. In it, he writes, "He comes to us as one unknown, without a name as of old. By the lakeside, he came to those men who knew him not. He speaks to us the same word, follow thou me, and sets us to the tasks for which he has to fulfill for our time. He commands, and to those who obey him, whether they be wise or simple, he will reveal himself in the toil, the conflicts, the sufferings which they shall pass through in his fellowship. And as an ineffable mystery, they shall learn in their own experience who he is. I found that to be
Wow.
quite personal for me. I'm still discovering who he is and who I am because of him.
And that's a lifelong learning process.
Yes. Wisdom comes to us old people, sometimes fast, sometimes slow.
Sometimes, yeah. And sometimes after it's repeated, I love this, which they shall pass through in his fellowship. Pass through in his fellowship. That's, oh my goodness. We just have to make people feel welcome. And they do. I'm not saying that we don't, because we are a very welcoming, open, friendly church. And that fellowship that we are invited to share with each other is very, very special. It's very special. I know we want to talk a little bit about Dr. Martin Luther King, because today is the day that we celebrate him. But before we get off of what we were talking about, I received a text message yesterday after church from Katie Danner. I had been in the sanctuary talking with Trish Green, and Ella came to me and she said, you know, there's a lot of hymnals and a lot of pew Bibles that are missing. Where are they? I said, well, I'm not really sure. And I had noticed that there were quite a few that were missing. And I said, why don't you get me a count? How many Bibles are missing and how many hymnals are missing? And then next Sunday, we can take care of that. We'll make sure that there are some that you can put out that we will get that filled. So the message that came from Katie, and so some of you already know that Ella wanted to know what she could do to help, and that was a month or so ago. And I told her that, you know, the sanctuary really needed to be picked up after worship. Any bulletins that were left in the pews, just straighten things up so that it looks nice. So yesterday, when she shared with me that the Bibles were missing and the hymnals were missing, I guess she just couldn't wait. She could not wait. She got her whole family involved. She got her Graham and Grandpa, also known as John and Cheryl Morrison, and her mama and daddy, Zach and Katie Danner. They all helped her with this huge project. Probably will not be visible to those that just come in the sanctuary, but oh my goodness. And those of us that know will see a huge difference. So a long story, very short. All the pew Bibles and hymnals are back where they belong. The spines on many of those hymnals that were tattered and ripped, and Cheryl fixed those. She mended all of those and put them back so that now they're not tattered and torn anymore. They're beautiful. And those so I want to say a big shout out, thank you to Ella and John and Cheryl and Katie and Zach for sharing all that they did yesterday to make that happen. It was a much needed project.
Those are the little things, and they're not so little when you get started on them, but they're little things in the fact that not many will notice. But when someone new comes to the church and they pick up a pew Bible or they pick up a hymnal to sing, they will appreciate that they had that sitting right there, because if you sit in a pew and there's no pew hymnal and no pew Bible, and you want to follow along, and it's very it's not inclusive. It doesn't make you feel part of the group if you don't
Right.
have the tools that everybody else has.
Right.
So
And those are tools.
and those are such important things. They don't seem big, but it doesn't matter whether it's big or small. It's an act of welcome. It's hospitality.
It is.
That is hospitality.
So I'm just saying, you know what? If a 7-year-old can make a project like that happen, that big of a project, what can we do? What can we do when we all work together? When we work together.
Yes. In a small group, by yourself. But it's way more fun with a small group, or a group of any kind, if you work together towards something. And it all adds up in the end to let everyone know who we are.
Yeah. And let them see who we are.
Well, that's just it. I mean, and these are the small little acts that need to be recognized and honored and respected, because they are actually huge things.
Yes. Yeah, they are. You know, another thing that Pastor Lydia pointed out yesterday was about stretching ourselves to experience new things, to try new things, or reinvent, recreate something that we have done previously. And our spiritual life, we recreate that, or we enhance that by regular study, being in the Bible, uplifting short stories, or meditation, quiet time. Sometimes just sitting and looking out the window is a meditation for me, experiencing God's world and the beauty, even if it is really cold. And then
I was just going to say, I miss sitting out on the deck and listening to birds chirp, but it's a little too chilly for that right now. There's birds out there. I don't know how they're making it, but
yeah, we just have to sit and listen for God's voice and His guidance to, in those times of quiet. He's talking to us. He's nudging us, maybe not very loudly. This is the tool I want you to use. Did you know you have this tool? He wants us to grow and to serve.
If you're almost ready to try something new, if you feel that nudge, if you feel that urge, please let someone know, because we're looking for you. We need you.
We need you. We have a dream. That's the lead in. Today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. He had a dream. Boy, did he have a dream.
He had a big one, and it took just a few steps to start it. And then his attitude toward answering God's call to share it. How afraid he must have been in some circumstances.
Oh.
But his enthusiasm, his passion, his sense of calling, it was infectious. It caught on. There were many who joined him. And it was just his first step. It was his first, the things he did to begin are, sometimes difficult, but you have to persevere. You have to keep trying.
You have to be brave. I mean, he was born in 1929, and the civil rights leadership, the work that he did it mostly in the 50s and the 60s. I mean, he had to be so brave, so courageous. But he knew he wasn't alone. He knew that God was there with him, and that was his mission, to get slaves and get the Black community equality, and not treated less than.
So
and we're still working on that today.
Equality is one thing, but quality of life. We all deserve a high quality of life. Yeah, sometimes we have to fight for it and scrap for it, and other times God brings it to us and we didn't realize we had been working toward that all along. So it's a time of new beginnings. This is another sign at the beginning of the year, Martin Luther King Day. He began, he started, he stepped out in faith. It's another example for us to answer the call, for whatever that might be for us.
And it's going to be different. It's going to be different for each one of us, based on our feelings, based on how we were raised,
and where we were raised,
and where we were raised.
You know, sometimes it's easy to be an activist in an environment that is accepting of that idea, but to be an activist like Martin Luther King in the Deep South, that's another thing altogether.
Yeah, totally different. Some of the things that he said in that speech, which are so true today. I say to you today, my friends, so even though we face the difficulties today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. And that dream is still going on. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. They just wanted to be.
They wanted to be part of it. They wanted to be included, not as a subset or a lesser than set of people. They wanted to be part of the whole dream, not a piece.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
And amen.
Amen. But we don't really see that. Too many don't feel that, don't live that. We have to live his dream. And that's God's plan. That's God's plan.
And it's our dream. It's been our dream from our inception as a nation, to be inclusive, to welcome, to encourage. But this is what we have to bring inside the church. It's the same thing we're looking for there.
It's exactly the same thing. I think my favorite one, or the one that we all remember the most, that he has said, that so many people repeat. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. That's what we have to get to. Not the color of our skin, the content of the character.
His children and grandchildren are speaking today still.
Yes.
And so he established his legacy within his family and then within us. Good morning, Suzanne.
Good morning, Suzanne. And Scott. I saw Scott too.
Yeah.
So we're about out of time. I have 2 more things I want to share quickly. So the last one from his speech: this will be the day when all God's children will be able to sing with a new meaning. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And then I have a prayer that I would like to close us out with. Dear God, please give me the strength to face each new day and recognize the many blessings it has for me. Give me the courage to walk on, no matter how long the path or how many turns there are in the road. Guide my thoughts so I will walk in love and peace and with gratitude in my heart. Help me to be brave enough to share my talents and to serve others. Amen.
Amen.
Have a wonderful week. Stay warm. I think maybe Thursday we're supposed to get a little bit back to normal stuff. So
30s.
30s.
I never thought I'd say hooray for 30s, but I'm going to.
Okay, bye everybody.
Everybody.